Welcome back to Just Joshing. It's been a while. We got another fun guest tomorrow too. But anyway, to answer this question, no, this last week was just like beating a major beating. It was just like so I got this contract through a podcasting company for an AI company, and I was supposed to hand in a bunch of episodes and get a very nice chunk of change for that. And that did not work out. That hurt. But I'm like, okay, I still got all my regular steady stuff, and all of that stuff in the last week, like basically from last Sunday to basically Saturday, every other one of my solid contracts are just on hold. They're not like gone forever, but they're on hold. So this month's fine. Next month's going to be interesting. So but there's two ways of looking at that, right? Way number one is, okay, well, shit, I got to change. But I also was thinking I had to change anyway. Because with what I want to do, I realized that I'm going to have to make some adjustments. And it's weird because I'm meeting with a friend of mine on Friday, and I got to look at it from the outside looking in. Like, this is going to sound stupid question in one way, but it's like, what am I good at? Like, what would people like? And I'm asking that from the outside looking in, because I think I can do a lot of things well. I can do video, audio. I write decent stories. I write decent copy. I can do a lot of things well, but it feels like now it's just like, okay, I need to find something to make it click, because for me to be able to do what I want to do, I have to figure out what that looks like next year. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, that's John Westhoff, ladies and gentlemen. He is probably one of the nicest dudes in comics. Yeah, one of the nicest dudes in comics. But I mean, it's one of those things like I've thought about, like I've accomplished a lot. I'm very proud. I am right below living wage line as an artist this year, so it's not like I've done badly. Right? Are you there, Ed? Ed, am I there? Are you there? Hold on a second. Hi. So I'm here, it looks like. Hold on a second. Okay. Are you there? Yeah, we're just seeing how this goes here. Ed is. I'm not. Oh. Okay. Am I back? Did I disappear or did they disappear?
I don't know which one it was. You disappeared for a second, but it could be my internet. I looked at it. It seems okay, but
same with mine. It seems okay. So okay.
Technology, you can't trust it.
Yeah, exactly. So internet hiccup, So basically, like, it's coming down to me. It's like, okay. So I'm like, okay, what should I do for next year? Because I do not want to repeat. I have enjoyed this year, but now it's like, now I want to get to next year, do better. So how do I do that? What does that look like for me? I'm treating now, and this is again, you can, so folks, this is the upbeat, positive side of getting your ass kicked sometimes is you get this opportunity to kind of look at everything you've done and say, okay, I can do this well, or this well, and this well, and this well. And that's basically where I'm at is like, okay, what's the next step for me? Is it focus on podcasting more, creating more shows, because that opportunity is going to come next year for at least where I'm currently at? Does it mean I walk away from the advertising end of things altogether, because at least for artists, not so much for small businesses, but for artists, because artists it's funny, artists don't like to advertise, but it's a necessary part of it. It's a necessary part of business, right? You have to do it. So, but trying to get them to try to get an artist to commit, it's like, hey, listen, you need to advertise. I don't know, I just want to write books. I'm like, yeah, I know that feeling, but so I'm thinking about that. Like, I have to, like, this week is gut check week for me. I got to kind of figure out what that's going to look like for next year. But I mean, it's like a roller coaster, man. It's like this did it. I just took a big, but it's gonna go like this again too. Like it's just it's
Yeah,
about life in
it
that way.
it ebbs and flows.
Yes. So that's my week. How about you?
Mine was, it's funny. I mean, it was a different kind of gut check week, but it was, we went into basically Saturday afternoon. Things were looking just amazing. I'm like, wow, what a great day. What a great start to this weekend. And then you get the call that a family member's in the hospital with a heart attack. And you're just like, that's right. Life always just finds a way to check you and be like, yeah, don't enjoy those moments. Well, actually, do enjoy those moments, because between them comes all of the chaos of life. And when the good moments are there, you just have to savor them. You just have to look at them and say, wow, this is great. Don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Don't know what the next hour is going to bring, but you can have the perfectly mapped out weekend, and then you spend it, all of it in, ICU waiting room. So that's my life over the last couple days.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. So here, toast. May good unexpected moment, good ones, not bad ones. Yes. May great unexpected moments come our way as a wonderful, yeah. Because that's the other thing too. The thing is, I mean, the downside of life is unexpected things happen, but that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes the great things, great moments can come to you, and so I mean, it's like one of the, again, it ebbs and it flows, and it's the only way change. It's the only way change is made, right? So. I'm looking at next year. It's like, okay, I need to come up with a business model that makes sense for me, so that when the spring hits, I'm out of here. Right? That's basically it. That is my plan. So I gotta figure that out, and I gotta figure it out realistically before the end of the month. Like I at least have a plan in place. If not, I don't expect it to instantly turn around that fast. Like very rarely works out that way. Yeah. Right. But I have to have a plan in place, because that's kind of where I'm at. But I also need kind of like an outside in look, like, okay, I can do a lot of things well. What should I focus on? Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in that weird. I mean, again, gut checks are good sometimes.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, whichever way they go, they bring positive. If you look at them the right way, like you are, they can bring positive change. But in the moment, they are some bullshit.
Yeah, no, they suck. Let's be honest. Like in the moment, they're terrible. Beyond that, no, I mean, one of the other things I've kind of done in the last month is I've kind of made a private agreement of kind of my own expectations with people. I'm not going to name names, but I actually now have a list of people I will never ask to come on my podcast ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing, like life happens, and I get that, right? Like everyone, like we've all screwed up. But what I realize is it's not that things go awry that annoy me. It's things that go awry without like any kind of information. Like you create an expectation, and you tell, like someone tells me, hey, I'm going to be here to you at this point and at this time, and you don't come through.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm not really mad that you didn't come through. I'm mad that you gave me an expectation.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Like it's the expectation that pisses me off, not the reality of what happens. Like again, none of us bat 1,000. I don't expect a perfect performance each and every time. Yeah. What I do expect from people is, okay, shit happens. You own it, and you try not to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I expect from people. So I'm not going to name names, because like I said, I'm not really mad. It's just like, I just realized like I have to do this, and it sucks because I have to do this. It's like, well, okay, I asked you not to make this mistake again. You made this mistake again. I just can't have you on my show anymore, because, again, life happens. There are exceptions. Like obviously, like something like what happened to you over the weekend. Hey, my family's in the hospital. I don't expect you necessarily to tell me right then and there things are going like that sideways. Right?
Yeah.
That's forgivable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you just start, but there comes a point too. It's like, okay, I have my own expectations, and if they're not, again, this might make me sound like a jerk, but I mean, I think it's the truth. You got to have that kind of standard with people. It's like, okay, are you going to come through with the expectations, or if you can't, are you giving me the courtesy to let me know what's going on? So if you do that, I'm good. It's not like, again, I don't expect a perfect performance.
Mm-hmm.
What I expect is, hi. Hey, listen, this is what's going on, and I can't do this.
If I had anything booked this weekend, it would have fallen to shreds, and it would have. You hope understanding would be there, because I did have a commitment that didn't end up coming through, and the person was a bit jerky about it. Like, yeah, sure, someone's in the hospital. I'm like, you want a picture? You want me to send you one from the ICU? Because
sure,
I can do that, but I shouldn't have to justify myself, because like you said, life happens, and it may have been an hour before the commitment, but when you get the call, you get the call.
Well, in that case, yes. In that particular case, I like in most other ones, I would be on that guy's side. Most other ones, right?
Yeah.
Because you get the call, and I get it, right? But it's like, I mean, at least it was an hour. The person in question literally told me right the minute we were supposed to go on the air.
Okay, yeah, that's different. I mean, I give as much time as possible, and it's something. It's circumstances that are way beyond anyone's control.
Yeah, again, there's
mine. I mean, I'm
like,
looking
again,
at my scenario because I had to flake on a thing, so it was one of those things where I see it from that side. But I tried to be as courteous as possible and say, like, look,
yeah,
some stuff just went down, and I have to be somewhere else right now.
yeah, and again, family emergencies, they happen. I mean, that's part of life, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, I still might be, and again, just I still might be a little fuming, but it's not like fuming because I'm mad at you. I'm just mad at
The situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But in a situation like today, like with what happened with me, it's just like, they were supposed to be on the show Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of like told me, like I told them I was going to be late, because I like, when I knew I was going to be late, I was like, I'm going to be late. Courteous thing, and they told me, okay, I can't make it, blah blah. And then they told me what happens, like, but literally, this is just right before we're about to go on the air, like literally like 5 minutes before. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get, life happens. Next time, could you give me some real notice?
Yeah.
They didn't do that. So this happened again today, and I'm like, okay, I can't. And even though today's situation, I'm more empathetic to them, to their situation a little bit. I'm also like, you know what? They told me.
Yeah,
like,
and I understand that, because if, let's say what happened this weekend, if I went to rebook and then did the same thing, then that goes to me, because I would not rebook until I knew the situation was clear and that I was going to have that flexibility, because I was planning a launch. I'm still planning a launch on Thursday, and I'm doing it live on a podcast. And I wouldn't launch if the situation was still looking dire in the hospital, just because at any moment I could be called off. So when things kind of normalized yesterday, I figured, okay, I'm still good, but I was going to email all the people involved, all the people that I was going to be going on with, and telling them, look, here's the situation. I can't give you my 100%. If you need to drop me, it's okay. But when things normalize, then I know, okay, I'm safe. But I was already looking at my week in advance, thinking I might have to make a lot of different changes. And I want to make sure that I don't want to hurt people, because when you're doing this, or anybody's doing it, it's something that you plan and you are ready for somebody. And when you get, an audible, and you're coming, you get, even like me joining you last minute today, we've talked before, so we can kind of find a conversation, and that's how it always works. But you had to pivot so quick, and that's hard.
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, if I had more time, if I had had more time, I wouldn't be mad at all. Like, I get it, right? It's just, but it's already happened once, and now it's happened twice. It's like, there's a line I got to protect myself. And that's kind of where it's come to. It's like, I realized, like, I don't have a problem doing that. And it's one of the simplest lessons I've learned doing this is honestly, that's what it comes down to. You got to protect yourself a little bit, and you got to, again, don't be a prick about it. Right. Like one of the contracts that is on hold, right? Like my client has some family issues. I'm not going to go into detail on the air about that. They're not my story, the thing, but she's got some like serious family issues. So I don't know when and if that's going to come back. It will at some point, but I don't know when it's going to come back. You know, it was kind of like, I almost feel bad because I kind of like, okay, so what's going on with this month's whatever. And I need to know kind of, because it's like, well, this is normally when I get paid by this client. So you got to talk some business, but I kind of feel bad about that because I feel like, but I need to know what's going on for me so I can pivot accordingly. Right. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Right. So, and then from that point on, I did what I could to help her, at least. And, you know, because again, I'm not an ass. I'm mostly not an asshole. We'll just say that. Mostly not an asshole, right? So, but that's it. Like life happens, and I think, it's just I think the thing is what I've learned in the last, like, especially coming back here, expectations. That's what makes people mad. It's not whether you do or you don't. It's the expectations you create when you commit or don't commit, and that's it. That's really it. And if you can manage those expectations, right, you will get a lot more of a pass, right, than if you don't. And that's the situation. And that's the one thing I have to do. And the other thing too is, like, I've learned how to I guess that's the best thing about coming back to Calgary this time, is I learned, like, I have an expectation of what I expect with people, and it's a simple one. You're just going to do it. You're going to follow through on what you say you're going to do. That's it. That's all I'm looking for. If I have that, I'm good. Like, I'm good. And, you know, and that's it. It's not, I feel like I feel like the most important lesson in school, honestly, is, do you show up for class? Like, that the attendance might be the most important thing you learn in school. And I never thought that till I've gotten older, and I realized, holy shit, no, this must be the hardest thing to do with people. Right. Is that's it. And what it comes down to is expectations. And it's a weird revelation I've had in my middle age, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, as a teacher, I can definitely say you have that right. And I've had those awkward parent conferences where I have to tell them, look, I cannot teach an empty chair. I can't make that empty chair a better student. I can't make it better in any capacity. Get your child here. And, you know, they don't listen, but then they realize down the line, being there would have been the most important thing. Because even if by accident, you're going to run into some knowledge every day you show up.
Well, no, it's not even just that. It's just, honestly, like, that beats most people. I never thought I'd say this, but being consistent and reliable, it doesn't sound sexy. Honestly, it's rare. I didn't think it was this rare. Right. So, but it is, it's funny. And again, it's one of those, like, later life lessons. It's like, holy shit, I got to charge more for that shit. Right. And that sounds really obnoxious, but it's the truth. Because I mean, it's like, wow. Like, and that is so valuable. I cannot even go into it anyway.
Yeah.
So, both of us, let's both of us have a wonderful, better week this week. Let's hope
do it. Let's make this week the good week.
Yeah. So I hope,
not the good week where the brakes get slammed and you get thrown in the windshield, because that sounds like both of our weeks last week.
I see. I kind of feel like last week was more like a boxing match for me. Like, in the fact that I took an uppercut, I went down. Like, if there was like in my life's journey, there's no 3 knockdown rule, which is a good thing, or I'd be like I would be a full-fledged knockout some days. But I would say last week I got knocked on my butt. 3 times. One time, meh. Like, one time it's like I was okay with it. It was my Smallest, a fun commitment, but my smallest commitment, and
Yeah.
it was not a big deal. One thing that froze, one thing that finished up, actually might really be a blessing in disguise. I
Mm.
signed honestly might legitimately be a blessing in disguise. It's something I'm thinking about, and the one with me, the client in the hospital, that one's unfortunate. But again, that's something that's beyond anybody's control, including
Yeah.
hers.
No one has
So
any
I'm
power
not,
on it.
yeah. So that's fine. So I mean, it's just the sheer amount of uppercuts in a week. It's just like, you know what? I took my yeah. You know what?
Like, I know I can
went
get
back
up, but damn, I don't want to
yeah.
have to get up again.
Yeah, can we take a break this week? Like,
Yeah.
can you just
I
go
want
back
to
to my
stand up
stool?
for a
Like,
little while, please.
yeah, exactly. That's it, right? It's like I always equate it kind of like to boxing, because I think boxing or MMA or MMA if you prefer that. It's just, I equate it to, like, you know what? We're battling against life, struggling against life, or wrestling against it, and sometimes we're like, listen. Every single one of us, it's like there's a moment where it's like, hey, we think we got this. All of a sudden, life goes, do ya? And it's like, grabs you. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, if it's MMA, oh, I'm in the air. How did I get here? Oh, look, the mat is coming really, really slam, right?
Yep. Mat meets
That's kind of,
face.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, sometimes it's life, right? And that's the thing. Like, I think the thing about that as I've gotten older is it doesn't shake me quite as hard. Like, it's not such a, like, don't get me wrong, it sucked. Like that Tuesday, I had some mead that night. I'm not gonna lie. When the big contract went away, I went, that's a glass of mead just for me, because I've earned it, right? Because I could use that. But beyond that, no, man, you get up, and there's the next day, and then there's the next day, and that's it. Like, I'm still here, and all in all, I mean, I love there's a one of my favorite motivational things on YouTube is Jocko Willnick's Good video. He does a video called Good, and it talks about this dude's a Navy SEAL. He was in Iraq during like the early 2000s, so he's seen some shit, and right. So he talks about in his like he has these great motivation videos. One of my favorite ones is Good. And the thing is, he had this superior, this guy going to his not superior, one of his officers underneath him. Hey, something happened to me, and he would always go, good, like, you know what I mean, like, good. And what he goes, and after a while, it's boring. Listen, you always say good even when bad shit happens. Why do you do that? So he answered him. It's like, okay, listen, okay, didn't get that job you wanted, good, go out, get another one. Didn't get that Ferrari you wanted, good. You'll find something else. Every day you're here is a day you're still alive, and every day you're still alive, there is hope for the next day that things will get better. It doesn't matter what it looks like outside, like what it looks like, what the world looks like. It doesn't matter. What matters is, what are you doing for yourself to make your world a better place, at least? And in so doing, like, how are you changing the world? Like, we have this power. And I know sometimes, especially with what's going on right now, people are looking at themselves going, what the hell can I do against all this bullshit? But I've come to like my own personal like mantra is, okay, we can all come together. We can go to some of these entities that are benefiting from this, and we can stop them from benefiting from this. Or if we don't want to do that, then we can look at what we're doing in our lives and going, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to go. And we can start looking at other ways of approaching these problems. And that's it. That's all we can do. And like I said, the chaos of life is the chaos of life. There's a lot of it you don't control. But you can control you in almost every situation, right? Almost. So that's your job. That's the job, right? So there we go. So you excited about Corruptor, dude?
I am. Yeah, it's different because, I mean, feels like I've been on so many different shows talking about Immortal Era that it's nice to be talking about something new, but it's completely nerve-wracking because it's taking a new chance. And anytime you take a new chance, you're rolling the dice that people are going to hate it or like it. You don't know, but you're putting yourself out there. So I'm excited about it. It's something. I'm finishing up the last bit of the Kickstarter, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, okay, I feel okay about this now. Because of course, I go through the range of emotions. Like, okay, did I drop the ball? Is this thing going to work? And then finally, I reach the point where I go, okay, I'm all in now. I feel 100% that this is going to be as good as I could have made it. I mean, granted, there's always better. I could edit it 25 more times every time I read the script, but you have to reach a point where you said, okay, I'm satisfied right where we're at.
Well, there's a point too. It's like, okay, there's have I done everything I know I can do?
Yeah.
If the answer is if the answer is yes, that's it. That's all there is to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is nice. That's the word, nice.
Yeah.
And let's go worst case scenario. It doesn't work out. Okay, you try something new.
Yeah.
Right? There'll be lessons to learn from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can always go back to Immortal Era. You have your audience established there.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere. That's going to continue to be ongoing. But I think one of the crazy things with the new issue is who's my audience. It took a while to realize who my audience for Immortal Era was. Now it's a brand new book, and I guarantee they're not the same audience.
Oh, absolutely not.
The people that would read Immortal Era, I'm not going to be able to bring them over just because they like my other book, because the tone and vibe, it's not going to work for those, those 18 to 24-year-old women that I get walking up to my table. The Corruptor isn't the series that's going to grab them the same way that I could sell them Immortal Era. So now it's kind of establishing, as I go to the con, I'm going to be working at LA Comic Con in December, the first weekend. And that'll be the first time I put that book on the table to find out who is the audience. Because the Kickstarter audience, they don't know really their demographics or anything, because most of them are just little, anime figure profile pictures. But discovering again who is the audience for this particular book, that's the challenge. And it's something I enjoy. I like getting out there, talking the book, and some people will give you the dirtiest look. You're like, not my audience, moving on. And some people look intrigued, and there's people that I've talked to just kind of giving friends the basic premise, and they're more excited about Corruptor than they are Immortal Era. And they're like, well, we don't want to insult Immortal Era. I'm like, no, you're entitled to like what you like, but it's fun to try to now discover who is the demographic that I need to be selling to for this book.
But also this time, I think the one advantage you do have this time versus last time, you're not going to be so uncomfortable figuring that out.
That's true. Definitely.
Right. That it's going to come to you faster. Now, again, it might take a couple of issues, because I feel with something like this, like it's like, okay, there's the number one factor with comic books. Like, okay, it's issue 1 of something brand new, and I gotta be involved with that. But I mean, you're okay. It's like, okay, will this thing, when we hit to issues 2 and 3, will it hit the audience I want it to hit?
Yeah.
And also, I would go so far as to say the biggest thing too this time is you might have already projected an audience in mind. Like you might have already. And unlike last time where you were like, I'm not sure how this works. Like, I really don't. Right? You're past it. It's like, okay, you know what? I know what this is gonna be. I think I know how I'm gonna market it mainstream. If I go make it a more mainstream book, I have a plan at least in play here. This one you're gonna be like, okay, I think I know who the audience is, but I need to give it a couple issues, 2 or 3 issues, to make sure I'm right. I'm on to something. Or was I just on something? Like, was I just on something, right? And I thought it was this audience, and it turns out, no, it's not this audience at all. It is something completely I did not expect.
Yeah,
right?
And that's kind of where Immortal Era hit. I thought I knew who was going to like that book. And granted, some of the people that were the ones I originally envisioned, they do read the book, they do like it, but there were the certain audience that I thought, I'm not going to even waste my time trying to pitch them. Because first off, you don't think of the audience that I was kind of working with to even be a comic fan. But when you sell them the book and they come up to your table and they're just like squealing with delight over how much they love this character and that character and the scenarios that are happening, you realize, okay, that is a market, and it actually presents a new challenge, because a lot of times that market, that younger girl, comic reading audience, they don't generally go to small press. So you're kind of, if you see them even kind of passing through, you got to pull out that net and like, hey, come on over here. I see you're cosplaying, but let me just tell you about my book. And they always, well, I'm not going to buy. They said, no, I'm not here to sell you. Let me tell you about it. And then let me give you my business card, and then think about it tomorrow and see what you want to do. So it's that, but it's kind of now like, all right, I'm just going to cast the net out there and see what happens, going in with no expectations of who's the actual audience, trying who I think, of course, my perception is. I think, all right, anyone I see walking around in, a Pantera shirt, I think Corruptor might be something for them, but who else is out there for it?
Theater kids, people that like theater, people. I could think of audiences for this book.
That's what you do.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm good at that. Yes. So for those people wondering why we're talking like this, Ed and me actually met in person for the first time in San Diego, which is cool. And we talked for about a half hour about Immortal Era and who that book should be. I should ask, did you actually take my advice with the books I recommended you check out?
I did, yeah. Some of them I had already read. So, then the other ones, a lot of them, I just kind of started checking them out because I have the virtual library card. So I just went in, and after we talked, grabbed all those books. And I mean, I didn't read through entirely because I'm a slow reader, but I read a few chapters, kind of getting the vibe. And that way, if someone comes to my table, I can say, hey, if you're a fan of this or this or this, why don't you check this one out?
Yeah.
And we have a little harsher language, a little more gore, but yeah, like you said, those books have plenty of horror. They just, sell them to teenage girls and, hide the fact that there's immense amounts of blood and violence hanging out in those books.
It's not their emphasis. It's there. It's very much there. It's not the emphasis of the story.
Yeah, they don't have to describe a paragraph of the blood pouring out of the neck, but they still decapitate people left and right.
Oh, some of them, not all the ones I recommended you do that, but some of them do. Yes,
not all, but some. But I think that's the thing that scared me away from looking at that particular audience was, okay, well, my book is so gory and, all the different profanity and everything. And I thought it's only like a high adult audience, but it's, looking at those books and seeing, okay, a lot of them do have those kind of aspects, and that the reactions are what you have to go by. You have to look at when someone's walking, when they walk away from your table, you don't know if they'll ever even look at the book in the future. They may just stuff it in their backpack, throw it in a long box, and forget about it. But when they run up to your table the next day to talk about all these different things, okay, that's my audience, because they cared enough not just to buy it, but to come back and want to discuss it. So that's when the people that consistently keep coming back, that's your audience.
Yes, exactly. And that's something that I helped Eddie DeLangelini with his book and find a new audience with that too. And all I did was look at the cover of his book. It's like, you love your wife a lot, dude.
Yeah,
and you should be hitting that audience a little bit more, because that.
And it's funny because we were actually on a panel together a few weeks ago, and I kind of mentioned that. So it's funny that you said that, and then we ended up being panelists together at the same con.
No, Eddie's a good dude. I enjoyed our chat. Like he was my 1000th episode, and it was a fun chat because he was at the end, like the indie hunt. So I go there, I'm looking at his books, and dude, you really love your wife. Like you could just tell looking at the covers that he loves his wife a lot. And I'm like, okay, I didn't even read the book yet. I go, you know what you should do? Because I already knew again, without even reading the book, I already knew what the book was a little bit about.
Yeah.
So I told him what you should do as far as getting women to read the book. And I go, like, this book's really about your two loves of your life, comics, but also your wife, right? A big part of that book is his wife. And you should emphasize that more when you're dealing with the opposite sex. And he's like, okay, I'll just goes to me later. It's like, no, it's like that was I usually hate the what you should do advice, but yours was spot on. It's like, thanks.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, again, I can usually look at a book and I can usually figure out who's probably going to like it. Like that's something I've learned. Just reading books. It's like, okay, this is what you should do. This is who you should be targeting, because those are the people that will, again, it will resonate. Everybody loves good stories. It doesn't matter who you are. We all love a good story. The problem is, like, because there's so much of it out there, it's like, okay, what's a story for me that I like? And I'm like, well, right. And that's the thing, right? And that's and if someone can go, and anyone creators listening to this should put this in the head. If you can figure out a way to figure out who your audience is, you can tailor everything about your book to resonate with that audience, right? Yeah. Everything, covers, interiors, the way you describe the book to people, right? Because Kickstarter is a great audience, but it's not the only audience you can hit with any of your books. It's everywhere,
Yeah, because I mean, I do so much more selling in person than I do on Kickstarter. Because a good Kickstarter for me, I have between 150 and 200 backers, but at any given con, you're going to have 5,000 people walk by your table, and you're going to figure out which ones do I even want to bother trying to engage. And for me, it was just, I mean, I would throw out the line to anyone willing to stop. And now you kind of look and think, all right, that's probably not my target audience, especially if I see them walking up with, like 2 elementary school age kids. I'm like, okay, not my crowd, moving on. And, you need to learn who the audience is. And then you can always modify, because I did a con where it was 90%, let's say 35 to 50 men, and women were barely in existence there. So I was like, all right, you may think that that's the crowd you want to sell to, but if they're not there, it's time to make a change and sell to the people in the room that would still enjoy your book.
Yeah. And although that, again, and some cons results may vary, folks, on that one, because again, if it's too much of a veer away from your audience, you probably shouldn't go back there. It's just an honest thing, right? It's not every convention's for you, but you got to kind of figure out what those things are. And again, it's I have a book, like I finished a novel last little bit. Like it's actually in an editor's hands, it's in an agent's hands, right? And kind of seeing how that plays out. Like, again, not everything I did was bad in the last little bit. It's been a crazy, like, there's been a lot of good this year too.
Yeah.
But I already know who the audience is for this book. Like, I already know, like this is actually probably the first book I consciously realized, okay, these are the people that are likely going to buy this book when it comes out. So, so that's the thing. Like, I know what I did to kind of remind me of. It was like, okay, let's do something fun. All right, it could be. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to a young adult, although I could. It's not like a young adult. It does. It's not quite. It is very gory. I think the elevator scene in my novel is probably one of the goriest things I've ever written, but it's also one of like the most frightening things I've ever written too. It's just the way I did that. It was just like, right. So, but I mean, I know who the audience is for this, I think. Right. I think. And so next year when it comes out in one form or another, I will, whether I do it as because I really want to do my novel as a Kickstarter. I do want to do my novel as a Kickstarter. I feel comics are in a weird space with Kickstarters because there's a lot of good ones all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, like I'm looking right now. There's Rob Multari. Like up until last week, I was gonna go donate to Rob's campaign. If I get another gig, maybe I will because I like his stuff. But I'm like, you know, and you know, I do like and folks that without going into too many details, I know a little bit what the Corruptor book's all about. I think it's a good book, right? I'm in an odd spot about like donating to it now though because I did actually work on the campaign.
Yeah, you're part of the team that helped build the Kickstarter, but you know the insides and outs of the book because you had to work with the imagery of it and so much to kind of you had to figure out what are the images to sell this book.
I think I did a good. I like to think the storytelling aspect of my video, the first time around, was good. Now I had to definitely enhance it, but you know,
everything was just minor tweaks because you worked on the video and it was never like, oh my gosh, the mark is just missed. It's more like, how about a little bit of this and a little bit of that to kind of enhance it a bit.
Yeah, so I have a rule, folks. When I do work for clients, I have 2 passes. But I thought the first one I kind of did a half-hearted, like, okay, this is the base. What do you think, right? And you're like, okay, can we do blah 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 blah? And you're like, I'm afraid to ask another. So don't worry about it. Just tell me what you need. And then you get to the end. It's like, I only have one thing to change, and that's the last thing. It's like, okay,
yeah, just
and
the last do this couple seconds.
Yeah, and it was like, do this or this. I actually did both.
It's like, it's really cool. So once that's up, once the Kickstarter launches, definitely check out the video. And it's fun. I had a good time just kind of working through that because it feels so fresh. Because I mean, Immortal Era, I love it, but I'll be about to release the 10th issue of that. So I've been spending, my brain is in so many places because what the artist is working on and what's actually coming out. But issue 9 is the one coming out. And that one, that's my favorite issue of the whole series so far. So I changed my tune. That I'm excited about that one because I think that one is the top of how good it can be. And then of course I have to top that eventually because I want to write a long series, but I love the issue coming out. And then just having Corruptor in the middle is good because we'll have, it'll be an Immortal Era issue followed by a Corruptor issue. So we'll have 2 books kind of moving at the same time.
That's right. Ed Davis, media mogul. Eventually, get you a cigar, some hardcore like black glasses. You're like, success never changed me at all. Just light up, like just light up a cigar with like a $1 bill. It's I'm the same guy, I swear. Right? But no, I mean, it sounds like you, how to put this, you needed Corruptor though. It sounds to me like I'm not going to say Immortal Era bored you, but it was a bicycle you're used to.
Yeah. And having to change things up, it definitely was something. Yeah, I would say I did because it also was like I was writing one book all the time, and it's a nice thing where I can alternate between the 2 books because there's points in time where I'm just staring at a blinking cursor or a blank white page and nothing's coming out. But when you have 2 different things you're working with, you can really always find something from one of them. And now, I just finished up writing the 2nd issue, actually writing the outline for the 3rd issue of Corruptor. And then it was kind of reignited to go back and work on the 12th issue of Immortal Era. So kind of getting that little break reignites the flame to go and work for, the ongoing series.
Yeah. And you might find your writing, like, I noticed this with Rob. I'm going to say this, like Rob started Snowpaw. His Nightwolf writing got better the moment Snowpaw was part of his regular rotation.
Okay.
Right? Because what happened was it forced him to use different muscles creatively.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not going quite the same voice, the same cadence. Now you're actually now focusing on trying to make your book trying a new voice, a new way of approaching things. And in that approach, you can go back and look at what you've done previously and go, okay, okay, it's like this is good, because now I'm
Yeah.
going to look at my Immortal Era. I don't know if it's started yet, but you might notice this when you get to like then maybe not the 10, 11, 12, but maybe when you get to 13, 14, 15, you're going to be looking at what you've done with Corruptor, and you're going to look at Immortal Era, and you're going to be like, huh,
Yeah.
I've used these muscles I've developed here. What if I put them in here? Like, what would
Yeah.
that look like? Right.
Mhm.
And you'll find your book will become a more nuanced, structured book in a way
Okay.
that you may not realize. Like
Mhm.
the more, like, I write a lot of, like, this year I've done a lot of like ghostwriting for like blogs. So
Okay.
I'm constantly writing. Right.
Mhm.
And so even though you haven't seen a single thing I've written, right, to date, I'm
Yeah.
hoping that next year I can actually say that. What's happening is that the approach I took there definitely impacted the novel I wrote this year, and it's
Mm.
going to impact the next book I write as well,
Yeah.
fiction wise. Right, there are tools you can get doing different things. Like every time you do a new project, you learn different tools on how to do it, because there's more than one way to tell a story, and
Yeah.
in order, like, you're not gonna make Corruptor like Immortal. You're not gonna tell the same kind of story with Corruptor as you did with Immortal Era, because you can't. If you did, it'd be like, well, this is like the trappings are nice and all, but I basically just did the same thing. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do that. You want to do
Mhm.
something that feels different, is different, and
Yeah.
becomes different. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's the book I've been able to take into such weird places, even though they are connected universes, because I always
Sure.
love that kind of shared universe thing. But I also wanted to I used the same artist, but I wanted a different colorist. I wanted it to have where if you picked it up, it's not like, okay, this looks just like Immortal Era 2.0. You want to look
Yeah.
through the pages and it has a completely different tone and vibe, even just looking at the colors.
That's it, right? Like you don't want the same book. Like that's the thing. Like some people look, there is such a thing as in fiction that people will pay to see a particular creator's book. Like if you look at a guy like Louis L'Amour,
Yeah.
right? Louis L'Amour wrote essentially the same story 50 times or 100 times,
Mhm.
or however many times he wrote them. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that art, that style, and that approach. That's sold, and you cannot argue the success of Louis L'Amour. But if
Yeah.
Louis L'Amour was to do a horror, the last thing I want to see of Louis L'Amour doing a horror book is the
Yeah.
exact same thing he did in his westerns.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to see that,
No.
because why would I get the horror book then? I already have
Yeah.
the westerns. That's the whole thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need, it's like, and that's why, by the way, publishers get very reluctant sometimes moving authors from one genre to another genre, is
Yeah.
because if an author finds a successful genre and is really, 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 really good at it,
Mhm.
then it's like, well, we could put you somewhere else, but now it won't look or feel the same. I'm
Yeah.
like, there is that threat,
Mhm.
So, but it sounds like you're excited.
I am, and yeah, we're now that things, like I said, things normalized because I didn't know what I honestly I didn't know day to day what life was going to look like, but things are finally in a better place as far as family emergencies go. Now I'm excited about the launch and just kind of seeing what people think, because you love when people read it and let you know what they think of a new, something new that you've created. Because it's, even though I feel like, I feel like I'm still brand new to this, even though I've been doing it since 2019. So it's still that you still feel really new. And that's, every time you have that kind of those butterflies in the stomach, wondering what's going to happen when this thing hits the world.
Well, I think nerves are good. I
Yeah.
think nerves. I think nerves. I would not want to do a project I wasn't a little nervous doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
If
I
you're too
think.
cocky about something, then there's probably a problem there.
Well, it's not even cocky. If the butterflies are gone, there's nothing in it for me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have the imposter syndrome thing anymore. Okay, I'm a fucking professional. That's just the way I look at it. I am a professional. And I realized like I think one of the things I realized is that it's not attitude's everything. And the attitude I have is I want to care about what I put out there. I want to be the very best I possibly can be, right? Without being such a, and this is one of those weird mind fucks about being such a perfectionist about it that it's like, well, what about that? No. Let's work on making this the very best it can be this way. Doesn't need to be perfect. I don't care about perfect. This sounds weird. I care about great. I don't care about perfect. But that's
perfect. Is never achievable because you'll always find flaw. No matter how many times you revisit something, you can always find something to fix.
Yeah, perfectionism is the biggest death trap an artist will ever run into. So I don't like I'm not saying you shouldn't have you should have an ideal what great is, but avoid perfect at all costs. And if you don't know what the difference is, here's the difference. I'm not going to think about that spelling mistake that might have slipped into the book. I'm not going to care that much. I'm just not, right? Right. Here's what I care about. Did it make you feel the way I wanted you to make it? Make you feel. Because that's more important to me. And how do I maximize that? Doesn't require the same degree of perfection or it just requires that I care. And I must care. If the butterflies are gone, it's like, okay, I write this book about me and a magical bicycle. I don't give a shit about the magical bicycle. Guess what? It's gonna suck. Doesn't matter how awesome or magical the bicycle is. It's just gonna suck.
Yeah.
And it's something I've learned. Something I've learned is you gotta find that part of yourself that genuinely cares. Now, with each story, it doesn't have to be the exact same part, which is cool. But you have to care about your story, and you have to care about it in a way that okay, that novel I'm talking about, I'm very worried it didn't stick to landing. Like I'm very, 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 very worried about that. I'm not sure if I did. I care about that, so that's why it's in the editor's hands. So the editor can go to me. Do you feel like the payoff was worth what I set up? Because if you don't, where did I fuck up?
Yeah, exactly.
Fix it, right? Where did I fuck up? Where can I fix? I care about that. I don't care that in my world there are a bunch of different Earths and that I might have confused this one gun over another gun. I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? It can add depth. Don't get me wrong. Details do add depth to a story, folks. But you don't have to get everything right. You just have to get enough right that people get the picture of what you're trying to do. And in comics, it's using the pictures to create it. It's the moments between in comics that tell the best stories.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing of learning visual storytelling. It's a different way of telling a story, and that was something in the beginning as well. But yeah, for me, I had to learn how to cut what I had to say because it was 90% dialogue and no pictures were left. So you have to learn how to trim the fat too and tell what needs to be told. And you don't need the kind of detailed description you would put into a novel. A comic reader doesn't want that. They're reading a comic because they don't want to have to read paragraph after paragraph about a door or a tree or whatever.
Yes. And that's the thing, like comics, like different storytelling beats matter, right? And for comics, it's the gutters, right? Yeah. It's the gutters that matter because those are the comics are all about freezing moments in time. Doesn't matter if it's actually a comic or a manga. That's what it's about. It's the right moments in time that are being frozen. Freeze the right moments. You can make someone loud. You make someone cry. You can make someone go, right? And you can legitimately horrify somebody if you do that, right? So that's kind of the thing, and that's kind of the way it goes, right? So you got to look at it from all those perspectives. Novels, it's also what you don't say in novels. It's about how you say things, but it's different because it's not, again, as you say, now I don't have pictures to work with. Now I have to create a picture. Now it doesn't have to be a perfect picture in novels either, but you have to create a picture, right? right? And again, the novel I wrote about, the very first bar you go into is a dive. Actually, pieces of the roof are caving in throughout the bar, right? So the like debris actually falls in, and don't even get started on the beer or the water, right? The water is actually scarier than the beer. So that you can just imagine what kind of place this is. And just based on those details alone, you're like,
yeah, now you know it's in your mind.
Yeah, it's it, and it's not. And again, I didn't talk about the air, the atmosphere, or any of that stuff. But you already have an idea what to expect because
it's built in your mind just from that little bit.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the job. That's the real storytelling secret. Comics don't play with that stuff quite the same way because it doesn't need to. Where comics play is again those little character moments, and that's what makes it good. Like you can have. I said the magic bicycle thing. We'll just go with that. Now, what if I give my what if that magic bicycle was just something as simple as you can now pedal in the air? Okay, so bicycle now isn't important. That's what do you do with the bicycle, right? That's a much more interesting question. So that's something that like again, these are storytelling decisions we all make. Like the Corruptor versus the Immortal Era, right? Corruptor is pre-Rapture, for lack of a better term.
And in this case, the Rapture being the Immortal Era. So that's kind of a defining moment in this universe. But this is everything before that. And it's not just like, here, let's tell the story of this person that we'll see in the book. Like it's just, this is pre-Rapture, and it's just both, heaven and hell trying to gather souls because they know Immortal Era is coming. So they know, okay, basically the Rapture is coming. We need to get the souls now before it's too late. And, that sets up that whole world and universe.
Yeah. So I guess Immortal Era is your great tribulation.
Yeah.
It's all good.
In this world, that would be it.
Yes. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I just thought like that's an interesting concept. Which means there's an Act 3 at some point.
There is.
Yes. So Act 1.
I've actually mapped out Corruptor to be in 2 separate pieces. The first piece will all be the pre end of the world, and then the second piece would take place when Immortal Era ends. That will tell the final act of everything, bringing back to Corruptor.
So I guess I asked this question then. But this is about your world more than anything else. So, will the character? So, when are you going to release Act 2? The other back half of Corruptor? Will you like wait on it then? Because something like that almost feels like because of how Immortal Era is constructed, it could. I mean, you got to be very careful with the kind of spoilers you're actually going to have.
Yeah, and I would probably end up waiting until after the third act of Immortal Era, because then I could tell the story without fully spoiling the ending of Immortal Era. But that's one of the things I've been asking myself is when can I drop it in where it doesn't like, okay, I don't need to ruin the story that I've been telling for all these years with the third act or with the second act of Corruptor.
Well, so I mean, so there's here's a counter perspective to that. Okay, you can give some information away.
Oh yeah, some
right. You're right. You can give some information away. I think the decision there is how can I make this interesting, right? Like I would release Corruptor Volume 2 before the end of Immortal Era, actually, and probably maybe during the start of Act 3, because if you do it correctly,
be the best idea.
Yeah, because what would happen there is, right, is now you can in Corruptor you can kind of halfway spoil the end, halfway, not fully, but halfway spoil the end, and it'd be like, and anyone that's reading both, it's like, wait, what the hell's going to happen here, right? And then you're like, yeah, right, because if you do it right, you're like, well, this is after this. Don't get me wrong. Because the challenge is when you're writing from a particular point of view, right? You have to remember. This is why time travel is such a pain in the ass, right? Is if you give too much information away, you get rid of the tension completely. Yeah, because the character's gonna live. Like I How to put this? One of my favorite time travel examples was Babylon 5. I loved when Sheridan got kind of jumped into the future. You had an idea what was going to happen. You saw kind of the end of the Centauri with and anyone, again, Babylon 5 is over 20 years old, so I don't feel bad spoiling this. But there's this. He takes Sheridan's character kind of into the future. And in that future, you still don't know a lot what's going to happen to him, right?
Yeah.
Right. He tied it in at right near the end of season 3. At the end of season 3 is when the series gets to its like big climatic end, right? Like season 3, right before then. So there's enough information that he gave to the audience that's like, okay, they're going to live through this. Okay. Yeah. But there's a price, and you got that sense that there was this price to what Sheridan was about to do, right? Don't go here, don't go at this time, don't go at this place. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And he still ends up going to this place, and he still ends, and you see why and now you understand why she said don't go here, because when you get to season 4, right after what happens in season 3, you're like, at the end of season 3, you're like, okay, so Sheridan kind of comes back around episode 3 or 4 of season 4, and the main cat joins the main cast again, but he paid a huge price for going on that journey, and which ironically sent part of the setup for the last episode of the series, which is still, again, tied it all together, really, really thought this through, right? That time travel scene set up the climax of seasons 3 and season 4. Wow. But it also set up season 5's finale. Like the last episode of the series deals with the price Sheridan paid, right? He obviously he dies in part because of what he did in season 3. But it all ties together, and it's so well done. And it's so well done. So, because again, you're playing, the thing you got to look at is like, you're playing with the audience's expectations.
Yeah.
Right. You're playing with the audience. So what you got to understand is, okay, what is the audience expecting here? And how can I give them kind of what they're expecting?
Yeah.
But still mess with them a little bit, right?
Yeah,
and that's, do it right.
Yes, it's already got me. It's already got me thinking. There's ways I could do it where the spoiler would be pretty minor, because it's probably one that everybody sees coming anyway, of how one way Immortal Era will end, but not giving away the ultimate ending that people probably won't see coming.
Well, yeah, you give a piece, right? You give a piece. It's like, okay, that's cool. How did this happen? And then it's like, read here to get how. Like, you leave the how out, right? Or you make it as vague as you possibly can until the issue comes out. And once the issue comes out, then in Corruptor Volume 2 or Volume 3, whatever number that is, right? Whatever number that is. When you get there, then at that point you can spoil that part of You can spoil that part of Immortal Era and Corruptor. It's like you can openly talk about it, but again, you have to plan it accordingly. Like if you don't, it's going to blow up in your face. But that's the downside. But the challenge is, how can I keep the tension up? Without destroying it. Again, and those are the things you get a really good editor to look at and go, okay, this is what I'm thinking. How do I do this?
Yeah, that's a fun one, because I use different editors for the books as well, but I need to kind of put their heads together and say, all right, here's my plan for both books and what's going to happen, and kind of let them decide, all right, have you gone too far? Did you get crazy, or can we make this madness work?
There's no, how do I put this? There's no incorrect way there's no incorrect crazy of how far you go. Where you need the editor to go, okay, what information can I give away that makes them go,
I guess so.
Right? But what information do I keep away from the audience until this issue I'm sure you have an issue of Immortal Era where this moment happens.
Yes.
Right? Where you can spoil it. So you have the issue number in your head. So up until here, what information can I show in Corruptor?
Yeah.
That doesn't ruin that completely.
Yes. And I think I already know kind of what piece is already just thinking of it in the abstract. Now when I get done, I'm gonna have to get my notepad and draw a bunch of crazy lines and like, okay, where can I do it? Because I know kind of what needs to happen for each story, even Corruptor's, third act. But yeah, just kind of finding the connection where you don't have to wait until Immortal Era is done. If you're a Corruptor fan, you don't have to sit and wait for one other series to finish before you get your ultimate conclusion to that book.
Yeah, again, it's about the information you reveal. That's what it comes down to. Not right. That's the important thing. You have to understand. Again, this is a magician's trick, right? If I give you this information, how will the reaction be here?
Yeah.
Right. And I wouldn't. There's a certain point of comic book continuity. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
2 or 3 books is manageable. That's it. If you go past that, it gets really, 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 really. It's very hard to manage continuity at that point. This is why the big companies screw up because there's too many books. There's like 40 books. And you and I might come to a silent agreement about what you can reveal and what you can't reveal about, say, Spider-Man and this in the month. But in 40 books, right?
That's hard because you have 40 books, 40 writers, and all of them trying to adhere to something that they're not quite sure about. With me, I don't think I mean already making one shared universe book, I already know in my mind there's no way I want to do a third one because I wouldn't be able to keep the dots connecting very well.
Well, at least not while two are going. But maybe when Immortal Era runs its conclusion, maybe you go into another book that can tie into the universe. That's fine too, right?
Yeah.
But I just point out to you like this because that's the whole secret, right? Is continuity is the best use of continuity is to reveal to the audience. I'll give you a good example of what DC actually did something really cool back in the early 2000s. Remember 52, the missing year?
Oh yeah.
Right? The missing year. Well, they spoil a whole bunch of stuff for each of the characters, each of the worlds.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell you how.
Yeah.
Like they didn't tell you what Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman did during that missing year. Like what did they do? What was the world like without them?
Yeah.
So and that's why 52 worked. Even though you had a sense of some of the things that happened, some, not all, but some.
Yeah.
Right. You had a sense of it. You didn't know. They were very selective with what they chose to reveal.
Yeah.
And that was the difference between that book and say Countdown, in which Countdown kind of just was terrible because they didn't have that same level of detail, that intimate detail of it. It wasn't there. Whereas in the first one, they were very conscious, like, okay, Black Adam ran amok. We have an idea of when he ran amok, but what's the story about how he ran amok? They didn't tell you that story. What did Superman do for the year? What did Batman do for the year? Batman was the one where it's like, okay, how the hell does he take a vacation? Kind of did, right? He kind of did and kind of didn't. That's the thing, right? Like you make those decisions and you make those decisions, you adhere to them, right? You adhere to them, and then that way you can have your cake and eat it too, right? You can have the spoiler. The Corruptor's like a cool, like you want a bit of an immortal, and that's also a marketing tool, right? Hey, you want an Immortal Era spoiler? Read this.
Yeah,
right? I will, right, but be warned, I'm a bastard. No, that's not what you say. But I mean, like that's the thing, right? You have to understand. You have to understand when you're constructing a story that it's all about the details you tell the audience. It's what it comes down to, and you can tell a story in any order you like. But the challenge is if you don't do a linear story, right? Where's the tension? Where's the drama? how can I do that? Right. And that's what you got to think about. If you you can think about it in those terms, good sir, you'll have a winner.
Yeah. No, that's food for thought right there. I like that.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. That's how you use continuity in comics. That's how you're supposed to use continuity.
Yeah. I hope I don't box, because I now I've heard, but that doesn't mean I can stick the landing. So now that's my job.
But that's what your editors are for. Your editors are for,
True.
Okay, listen, I'm not sure I got this right. How does this look to you? And that even talk to your illustrator. It's like, hey, listen, this is what I'm thinking. Right. Mm-hmm. And you talk to them, and that's like, creatively, what can we do to because you'd be surprised. Like the one thing about comics is they do have the illustrators are quite creative in their own right.
Yeah.
And they might, who knows, maybe your buddy will have an idea you never considered, and you'd be like, that's you are so smart. SMRT. I right. And that's it, right? And that's how you do it, right? And you have a good group of people that care about your product, they will go to bat for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think
that's
what it is, where the teams that I work with all seem to love the project. So it's something, that helps, where the editors are like, oh, I love editing for this book, or the artist loves, when new things come in. And that means, you know what, let me hear what you have to say, because with my artist, he's been living with these characters as long as I have.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So he knows as much about them as I do, but in a different way, in a way that I wouldn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Like let them, like, I remember I did my poetry series. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My artist goes to me, hey, listen, you need to think about these things. She's very, very, very like Florence. I always praise Florence very, very highly on this show. Mm-hmm. And no, she's got a great attention to detail. She was thinking about things I at the time never considered. And it made the book better. And don't again, one of the biggest things, and I've learned this, be smart enough to ask for the people around you for help that are working with you. Be smart enough, because they might have better ideas than you do, and that's okay. A smart man won't argue that point. Here's what the smart man will go. It's about telling the best story possible. So what the smart man utilizes the best of ideas.
Yeah.
Right? That's the real smart man. Not the guy who comes up with it. It's what you do with the ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel so smart after that conversation. I still don't know what the hell to do. I got grown. Yes. I am so smart. SMRT or something like that. Something like that anyway.
Something like that.
No, so your project's going up on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, let's find you on here. So do you have a link?
I can send you. Let me give you the I can give you the link that'll give you the preview. There's still a couple pieces.
I've already found. I just found it. I think I found it.
Okay. I don't know if you got
let's see if I got this
link, but I can send you that.
Yeah, hold on a second here. Send me that. Let's see. Let's see if you got it. Hold on a second here. Otherwise, did I get it? Hold on. Did I get it? Did I? Was I so smart?
That looks it. That looks like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can go right now and you can join the preview link. By the time this podcast airs on audio, you'll be able to make donations and pledges to it. Watch that video. That guy that made it out here is pretty good. Sometimes he's an asshole. Sometimes, right? But definitely check out Corruptor. Is a new chapter in Edward Davis's comic book universe, Finish Line Comics, and it's the start of something bigger, right?
See, it is.
Yeah. So all right, Ed. I think we have an interview here, good sir. How would you like to pitch it? I think we do the proper pitch here, and then how can people find you? And we'll wrap this bad boy up.
All right. So please go on that link. Check out Corruptor. It's launching on Thursday. It's a brand new book in the Immortal Era universe. Connected, but you don't need any background of Immortal Era to understand the book. And it kind of pits heaven and hell against each other. So we build the mythology of the universe, and it will be up for 30 days starting on November 16th. And my goal is to get them all out by Christmas, because the books are sitting in my office right now, already printed and ready to go. And yeah, please come in and check out this new book. If you want to know anything about what's going on in both universes, Immortal Era and Corruptor, follow Finish Line Comics on all your social media, and you can find out all the things that are going on.
Is this the website for Finish Line Comics?
That's it, yes. If you go there, you can sign up for my mailing list. We're about to do an email list, because we also, I'm going to be revealing the cover for LA Comic-Con. We just got approved for another exclusive. So we're doing a series of exclusives at LA Comic-Con. So if you happen to be in LA and you're coming out to the con, you can pick it up there, or it'll be on the web store on Finish Line Comics after that.
All right. Well, folks, that will do it for this episode. Just joshing. Tomorrow, I'm interviewing somebody at my maturity level. He's like, he is a friend of mine's son. He is a aspiring animator. He's already got some animations up. So that's going to be tomorrow's episode of the podcast. Check out Ed's comic right now. You go to Kickstarter once again, folks. The link will be in the episode description. If you're listening to this, go check it out. Back to project. Right. And also you probably will hear the ad. If you are on the audio, you will hear the ad for Corruptor on the podcast. So definitely check that out. And for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.